The AZ Wildcats podcast, we have teamed up with BetMGM. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code PHNX and you will get $200 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code PHNX. Place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least $10 on any market at standard odds price. You will receive $200 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. Just make sure you use bonus code PHNX when you sign up. Plus, join us at the BetMGM Sportsbook at State Farm Stadium for all Suns away playoff games. Our PHNX watch parties presented by NUTRL will feature food and drink specials, PHNX giveaways, and BetMGM mystery deposits. Join us. And now let's listen to Shane for the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
All right, now, and I got you right here. Good job, Jacob Franklin. I appreciate that. All right, now, joined by the great William Brad Allis, I am merely Mike Luke. All right, we got a lot to get to this show. We're going to talk about Ąžuolas Tubelis, what he should do, options for the future. First, I'd like to give and I put this out on Twitter, I'd like to give a shout out to David Kelly. Congratulations on the new gig, my guy. It's important for people to know that my beef has always been with Rich and Herb. That's it. Very friendly with the rest of the building right there. I wish David Kelly nothing but the best right there, Brad Allis.
Wait, you're telling me you weren't crying in the shower? I don't know if you saw that. A mutual friend of ours posted that you were crying in the shower over someone else getting the gig. So I found it ironic. Same guy took a shot at Jason this week.
Would his name rhyme with beef?
Yeah. So,
okay. I didn't see that, again, but yeah.
I never had any personal problems with that guy, but that's two a-hole moves in 1 week towards people that I either like or respect. So as for DK, a lot of people are like, oh, what, the TV guy going to – no, he's a radio guy, long-time radio guy. He's done minor league play-by-play. He did people forget he actually came to the market to work for the Wildcat pregame show. Right. And then when, like many of us, kind of got nudged to the side by a certain corporation who runs the Wildcat broadcast, he landed on his feet in television and learned on the fly. So DK, who is a really good guy, going to move back to radio. I'll be interested to see the direction of the show, because I know sometimes he likes to be hot take guy and other times he likes to go deep dive guy. And I hope, for my personal taste, he does more deep dives. Because I think he can be very good at that. But yeah, congratulations to DK.
Yeah, very good. Like I said, great guy. So again, DK, wishing you all the best, my guy. All right, now let's get started here with some Arizona hoops. Ąžuolas Tubelis. This is now again, it seems like all the tea leaves are saying that he's going to go pro. But my question is this: what can he gain by coming back? Because I look at it and I don't view Zoo right now as an NBA player. You look at the way the league is right now from an athletic perspective, from a skill perspective. I don't see it. I do think there is upside, though, William, if he were to come back and develop into, say, maybe a 40% three-point shooter, which I think he has the capabilities of doing. I don't believe this is a Michael Wright situation where, you know what, you're not a pro now, you're never going to be a pro. I think there is pro potential for Ąžuolas Tubelis if he were to come back.
Yeah, Tubelis has to show me two things to be a pro. And again, I can see a scenario where a team takes him in the second round, sends him to the G League, or stashes him overseas. But here's what he has to show. One, and first and foremost, he has to show the ability to knock down the three. Because he is a legit 6'10", 6'11". And if you can shoot the three and be kind of that stretch four. Second thing he has to do is improve his defense. Does he have to be an elite defender? No. Does he have to be a guy who can, get out on the wing and guard traditional small forwards? No. But what he has to do is he has to be a guy who can guard 2.5 positions. And what I mean by that, he has to be able to guard a center and an athletic center. He has to be able to guard the four, the stretch four. And he has to guard when teams go big with the bigger small forwards. And by that, I'm talking like, again, no one can guard this guy, but a Durant type who's not a traditional put the ball on the floor, blow by you small forward. But if he can be a guy who can be a serviceable defender for players 6'9" and over, and be able to guard at maybe a C+ level, B- level, all three positions, combine that with the ability to knock down the three, combined with his inside moves inside of 10 feet, his feel for the game, his touch. And that's why I think he could be a three-point shooter. I don't know if I can remember a guy at the U of A. Fry might be the guy, which is an interesting comparison, who was able to just get the ball to fall in the hoop around the hoop. There are times where Zoo looks like he has no business making a bucket, and then it falls easily because his touch is so nice around the hoop. If he can do that, then he's a guy who works his way into the top 50 of the draft, and maybe if you're a better team at the tail end of the first, you're like, I can get a guy who's older, who's going to listen, who's coachable, who has shown an improvement in year 5 in college. Yeah, we'll waste the 27th pick or use the 27th pick at him.
Derek Pitt, go ahead, Brad. You're good.
I would say I don't know, Derek. If Zoo is similar to Nick Johnson. Nick had nothing else he could do. He wasn't a pure point guard. He was never going to be big enough to be 2. I'm not sure Zoo has maximized his game, especially if he dedicates a summer to learning how to do something new. You use the Michael Wright comparison. The problem with Wright was he needed to showcase that he could shoot. And Michael Wright could actually, I saw him in practice knock down 18-footers at the 90% clip in practice. Problem is that next year he was going to have to play the 5 because they were losing Woods. They were bringing in Fox and Fry, but neither guy was a surefire thing. In fact, if you remember, Anderson was the power forward that year, and you weren't going to be able to play Ricky at the 5. You were going to have to play the much stronger Michael Wright. So he was never going to get a chance to showcase that ability, and probably did not again have the footwork outside of 10 feet. But Zoo might, and I don't know if he does, but that's the reason you would come back. Now, the other thing is you put your name in the hat. Either a team drafts you in the second round and stashes you, or you just go overseas and you try to prove it. And the interesting thing we're really seeing in the NBA now with the G League is guys latching on as rookies as late. Just this week, Chance Comanche.
Chance Comanche is in the NBA. He will be able to tell his grandkids that he played in the NBA.
Although, can I tell you my new big pet peeve?
What's that?
A guy signing with 1 or 2 games left, and he's been signed for the remainder of the season.
Hey, man. It's one of those things. It is what it is.
Yeah. Same thing. Kobe Simmons, who had played previously in the NBA, also signed with the Hornets, I think, for 3 or 4 games. So these are guys who are 6 years removed from Arizona, finally making it back to the league. Even Gabe York, who has been bouncing up and down. But we're now in a time where, because of the way the G League operates, because of how overseas basketball is not as different from the NBA as it used to be, with the NBA going to a more outside in game. And frankly, the international game getting more athletic, that guys can go away for 3, 4, 5 years and still make the NBA. That being said, by two things. One, will Tommy Lloyd give him the opportunity to showcase those type of skills? B, is there enough creative ways with the NIL? And again, I know there's some ways now that they are being able to get NIL money to international players to make it worth his while. Because right now he can go sign, he can go play in his home country, carve out a good living. He can go play, maybe in a Spain or Italy or something, and play in a really nice.
He's gonna be good.
Yeah, so he's fine. Now again, it's, do you like college enough? Do you the opportunity to play another year with your brother, who will not be playing in Italy and Spain? I'm not saying his brother's not going to play pro ball somewhere, because it seems like you put on an Arizona jersey. I mean, if you forget, Andrew Zahn carved out a long pro career overseas. But, is there enough NIL money to make it worth his while? Again, the tea leaves seem to indicate that he's going. The fact that Arizona now is heavily involved with the power forward from Tennessee seems to suggest that he is going. But there's a lot to remain, because those guys could also coexist.
Let me play devil's advocate here. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because I would like to have Ąžuolas Tubelis come back. But you know what? Here's what I'm going to make the case for why Arizona, in a weird way, would be okay without Zoo. I believe that one thing that we've discovered about this Arizona team the last couple of years, again, this isn't a reflection on Tommy Lloyd, but I do believe that there is somewhat of a soft factor to it, to the team, and I think that's just fair to say. And this is, again, Zoo is a great player. Zoo is an all-American type guy. But Zoo's also never really been the dude that has wanted the ball at the end of the game in a big spot. There's been a lot of times where he's kind of looked disengaged. If you bring in a guy like a Kumar from Tennessee, you bring in Ryan Nembhard, I think you've added a significant factor to the toughness factor to this Wildcats team, Brad.
And I may be forgetting a very obvious example. When was the last time a team led by a, for lack of a better word, finesse power forward made a deep run?
Right.
In fact, how many times did a team with a power forward as their best player, who again wasn't a stretch four or wasn't just an absolute bulldozer, and made a deep run? I mean, maybe you could argue Baycott at UNC, but the fact is, you have to be guard and wing driven in college basketball.
And I think it's
really always been that case.
And I think you've got to be if your best man's a big man, I think he's got to be a physically overwhelming big man. I think he's got to be a guy, like you said, I think Baycott was a good example right there of a guy that can just get the ball, get out of the way, and he's going to score. I don't know that Zoo's ever going to be that dude.
Even if you look at it, and again, they haven't made the deep run. They made good runs, but Drew Timme is a more physical player than Zoo. And even then, at the end of games, when he couldn't take over without really good guard play or just dominating the glass. And that's the same thing. I agree with you. Zoo did not want the ball at times. Other times, what are you going to do when he gets the ball? If you can't get him cutting to the hoop, if you can't get him in transition, if you get him to the ball on the perimeter, he's not good enough in most cases to put the ball on the floor. And if teams just sag down on their defense because your guards don't shoot well enough, or, kind of are unwilling to put the ball on the floor and get into the lava, which it seemed like he considered the lane, then that kind of renders Zoo, I don't want to say useless, because again, I can make an argument that Zoo's a top 10 guy career-wise at the U of A.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Statistically, but
I love you, Brad. But
at the end of the day, he's limited in what he can do. I mean, again, how many 20 and 10 guys have there been? But again, there's been also a lot more effective 13 and 2 guys who just could take over games when you needed to.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. All right, now, Brad Allis, you've been to Mountain Mike's Pizza. Is this correct?
Not today, but yes.
All right. Well, you know what? Mountain Mike's Pizza is here. I'll tell you what. I did not know this about Mountain Mike's Pizza. It is here for the local people, and Mountain Mike's Pizza is in Sacramento. I can I can attest to this because I ran into a Mountain Mike's Pizza. They're everywhere. They're taking over. You can head over to mountainmikespizza.com or their Mesa, Chandler, or Tucson locations to get your next order. Place a reminder, new diehards get a $50 voucher upon signing up. Check it out. You might even see the great William Brad Allis there at Mountain Mike's Pizza and Octane Raceway and Mavericks. All right, now, here's the deal. Book some fun this spring at Octane Raceway Mavericks, kart racing, virtual reality, laser tag, axe throwing, bowling, arcade, great food and drinks. Watch all the NCAA games at Mavericks in the trophy room or in the patio. Got to get that one updated. Get a free $10 game card when you purchase an entry at the trophy room. Check out octaneraceway.com and mavericks.com to learn more. It's great stuff. Great place to take your family. Great place to take the kids or go out there with a group of guys right there. All right, William, let's talk about back the A. You know how we roll around here. Ryan Nembhard and Jacob Franklin, if you could bring up the updated graphic we have right here of the Arizona Wildcats basketball roster right here. Okay, now we got Pelle Larsson in here. So here's what you got coming back right here. You got Kylan Boswell, you got Umar Ballo, you got Pelle Larsson, you got Henry Vasar. You get the gist. If you add Ryan Nembhard into that equation right there, and you add a guy like an Olivier Kumois, what does that feel like to you, Brad? Does that feel like a top 15 team? Does that feel like a top 20 team? I think that it's actually a little bit better than last year's team, to be honest with you. I think that I think it's a better team, to be honest with you.
To me, and I think you have to change one of the class designations. If you will notice, there are not one, not two, not three. There should be four, right? Four sophomores on that roster. How do they develop? Is Kylan Boswell the guy we think he's going to be? Is Vasar 25% better? Is Anderson a rotation player? Is Borovichinin a rotation player? If so, then yeah, you've got a very interesting roster all of a sudden. And you've got one, again, that I think Tommy Lloyd loves, where he can mix and match. You know, you bring Nembhard, Boswell, and Larsson, and you got three guys who can put the ball, who can handle the ball. You got three guys who can potentially shoot. Right. Or you swap out, you go 6'9" with Philly B. And again, there's been some positive developments in the Philly B front, from what I've understand. Are
you a believer in Philly B long term?
I got to see more. I mean, again, Here's what I've seen. I've seen about 8 minutes of action, and I've seen some grainy footage of him playing against a chair or me or you. But he's 6'9" and seems like he can move a little. Again, I think his ceiling is probably Ricky Anderson. And I'll take that in a heartbeat. So I think, though, if the four sophomores, and even if two of them develop into really good players, and again, I think Boswell will. Vasar is probably the bigger mystery of the two. Then that lineup you said gets very interesting, because we assume KJ Lewis can come in and play a significant role early on. We assume Ballo continues to get better. And again, I don't think it's going to be the jump he made this year, but if it's even 2 points and 1 rebound a game, that's pretty darn good.
Let me ask you this, because I believe that a lot of people think that Ballo is maxed out. I agree that he's not going to probably make the jump and become 23-12, but I don't know why Ballo can't be 18-8 as his apex. I don't know why he can't do that. Why? Talk me out of why he can't do that.
I think the only thing is does he become content? If he continues to develop, again, look at the jump he made in year 1 to year 2. From the last year at Gonzaga to his first year at Arizona, even from November to January, his first year at Arizona. The guy looks like he's a workhorse. Is going to explore getting better. You assume that between Steve Robinson, who has a reputation of being good with bigs, Murph, who's worked with the Arizona bigs in the past, Ricardo Foy, who's a player development guy. Right. You tell me they can't add, I don't know, a consistent 10-foot jumper, continue to get his baby hook softer, work on his shot blocking, as someone in the chat just mentioned. So, yeah, I think he can get better. Do I think he's much closer to maxing out his ability than he was a year? Absolutely. But I'm the one who said I didn't think how much better Zoo could get based upon past statistics.
That is true.
And
this is true.
I said, I think 16.5 is probably his cap because we've never seen a guy make that jump who was already a starter, and he made that jump. So I'm not putting past anything.
Reggie Geary, the great Reggie Geary, obviously, who, by the way, somebody asked me about where Reggie, to me, is one of the most interesting players in school history because he wasn't an All-American. He's not in that handful of all-time greats, but he's the best defensive player in school history, which to me carves out just kind of this little area all unto himself in a weird way, which I think is the best thing that you can say about it.
3-year starter.
Yeah. Final four.
Started at small forward as a sophomore.
Right.
And I believe if he didn't lead the Pac-12, he was close. He was like 7.5 assists as a senior.
7 assists. Correct. Yep.
Just a tremendous, again. So yeah, he's an interesting player who might have been more forgotten had he not come back to town. And I think that's good for his legacy. Played a couple months in the league. So yeah, Geary's a very interesting player because I think he could have easily fallen into that all overlooked team. And instead remains in our minds, 20 plus years after his career.
All right, Jacob Franklin, I think that we have in the Wildcats graphics, the great Sean DePaz put a new one in there. If we could maybe get that on board, not at the moment, but on board. Now let's talk about what Reggie said, though, that I thought was interesting right here. And great points. Mike's right nut. Is this not Tommy's left nut? All right. I just said it right there. But before we get to that, John Streebling, great question. Who are the good outside shooters next year? I think it's fair to say Boswell's a good shooter. I think we could see that by now. Assuming Ryan Nembhard is at the U of A, I think he's a good shooter. Pella's should be a good shooter. For whatever reason, his percentages aren't always there. But
isn't that just Pella's game, though?
Yeah, it's weird.
He's just not always there.
I wanted to ask you about Pella. And Reggie disagreed with me. And you know what? Reggie knows more about basketball than me, obviously. Reggie thinks that Pella can become a 17, 16 point per game guy. I don't see it. I don't see it mainly because the handle, I don't see the handle being there. I think his stuff is far more reliant on others getting him the ball. He's a good finisher. He's a good cutter, you name it. But I don't really see that there, William.
Yeah, and I'll say why. What's his move?
That's what I'm saying. Let's
go back to old school video games where if you got the guy in the right spot, you push the button. What's his move? What's his go-to scoring move? With Jason Gardner, it was a step back. With
Michael Dickerson, it was the pull up at the elbow.
Yeah, with Miles, it was the leaner at the elbow. Mm-hmm. With Salim, it was give me a 3-point shot anywhere in the building.
Yes.
Corner 3 for Ray O's if you really
right. Brad, you have frozen. All right, Brad, you have frozen. I will talk while you freeze. But once you come back here, I agree with you, though, that Arizona does have to have that type of player, though, that I think can make some plays at the 3. Let's get to a few comments right here. T. Burns says that T. Burns 826. Are we pursuing anyone at the 3? I don't have names on that, but yes, I would be very surprised if Arizona was not able to bring in somebody else at the 3 at that position right there. I do believe that it could be somebody like I said, Henderson. Maybe it's somebody like a Courtney Ramey. Not sure, but I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a difference maker. But it is a guy that I do believe should be able to do something. Brad, it sounds like his power went out, so that's not ideal. So try to hop on back in if you can, Brad. But that's where we're at right now. Are we pursuing anyone at the 3? That's where I would say. But I think the big thing that has to happen here, and again, you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but I'm about to count my chickens before they hatch right here. Nembhard, I believe, adds so much to the equation right here because he's a guy that when he gets the ball, he can make some plays and he's going to make other people's lives easier. Now, if he can get to that point, I think that you're probably looking at something where everybody's job becomes a lot easier if he is at that. Now, Jacob Franklin, if we could pull up that graphic right here. This is a great graphic right here. I like this graphic right here. Maybe we have a bit. All right. So here's who we know that we have. Here's who are not who we know, but here's who we project possibly coming in next year. Look at this right here. You got KJ Lewis, and yes, I do believe Mike MRN, as we're going to call him, said, are we undervaluing KJ Lewis? I do agree. I do think we're undervaluing KJ Lewis. As a matter of fact, I think he's a player that is going to play 12, 15 minutes per game, something like that. But I do think with KJ, you're going to see him make his biggest impact later on. I think as the time he's a sophomore, you're looking at a multi-year starter and a guy that I believe has NBA potential. You've had a lot of people that have soured a little bit on KJ Lewis. I have not soured on KJ Lewis. As a matter of fact, I think that he is tremendously underrated nationally. Now, Ryan Nembhard, we've talked about him ad nauseum. We're going to continue to talk about him. 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He and Boswell in the backcourt would be dynamic. And then again, I like Olivier there as the big. I'm not saying that he's better than Ąžuolas Tubelis, but I do think that you could make the argument that the fit right there could be a little bit more advantageous. Doesn't sound like we're going to be getting Brad back because his electricity went out. So you know what? That means more of me, and that's, I guess, depending on how you look at it, that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing right there. But overall, though, we're going to talk a lot of conference realignment here. So that's we're going to get to that here in just a second. But first, we were talking about things that leave a sour taste. You know what doesn't leave a sour taste? OGs. Here's the deal. OGs, you can go get our new collab shirt with OGs brand. OGs Brands is now live. If you want to get your hands on this dope collab tee, make sure you get your tickets at Budzapalooza. Join our PHNX crew on Friday, April 14th in downtown Phoenix as they'll be hanging out with all our OG friends. They'll be doing a special edition of the OG's PHNX Variety Show live from Budzapalooza, and that is where you can buy OG's collab T-shirts. And to get more information on Budzapalooza, go to check out budzapalooza.com. Okay, now we need to talk here a little bit about Arizona's future in whatever conference it's going to be in. If you're reading the tea leaves right now, you're seeing some guys now are starting to say that Colorado is going to make that first move and possibly be out of the conference. And that would not surprise me in the least. And if that happens, I believe you will see a domino effect, and I believe you'll see a domino effect sooner than later. Now, you might say, why would Colorado leave? That is, listen, at the end of the day, Colorado doesn't have any real loyalty towards the Pac-12 because, again, they're from the Big 12 right there. And the other factor, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is a guy that likes the spotlight. I mean, you know, his name's Prime for a reason. You know what he doesn't want to be, though? He doesn't want to be on Amazon Prime. Get what I did there? Get what I did there? But again, that to me would be all the reason in the world why you would go over to the Big 12 because, again, you want to be on a national base. And if Colorado were to leave, I do believe that Arizona and some other schools could possibly follow, and it could possibly be quickly because, again, you're looking for stability at this stage in the game. And if you don't have that stability, I don't know what we're really doing. Plus, the way that the can is just being kicked down the road, that's not ideal right here. Now, let's get to some questions. Let's get to some comments here. You guys are going to be carrying me through right here. All right, Frankie Tamilo. Defense is Pelo's game, in my opinion. Agreed. And that's why he is a guy that will always play 28, 29, 30 minutes a game at the U of A because he's big, he's physical, and he's pretty impactful as well. And by pretty impactful, he's a guy who he can guard a 2. He can also guard a 4 in a pinch. Again, it's not ideal, but he's going to play 30 minutes. So you got 3 guys on the perimeter right now. You got Kylan Boswell, you got Andrew Nembhard, and you've got Pelle Larsson in theory. That means that there's room for another guy or a group of guys to be able to hop in there as well. Like you just said, I think we are undervaluing KJ Lewis, but I'm about to speak out of both sides of my mouth. I do believe there's another room, though. I do believe there's room for a difference maker, though, for a guy to come in who can be maybe not all conference, but a guy that could be able to put up some real numbers right there. And that's where, maybe it's a Seth Henderson, a guy that comes in, get you 9-3, 9-4, something like that. Or maybe it's a player that's got, a little bit more all conference potential. I do believe that's there, but again, not going to really count the chickens before they're hatched. But overall, that to me is another position that does need to be addressed right there. Now, BCAT says, how about Duke's decommit at the 3? I would reach out to him. I would reach out to him yesterday. I would 100% bring him in. Mackenzie Baku. I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, but yes, those are the kind of guys that you want. I would imagine he's going to be able to go anywhere he wants. But also with the way that Arizona really kind of takes their time, not sure how serious they are on that one. But with Arizona, all right, now let's see. Derek Pipko. Jason mentioned who are the main transfer portal targets are. I'm sure there are other guys we are looking at. Are these transfers we're looking at mainly just to bench? Listen, there's going to be a couple overseas guys. I can't get into there just will be in every class. I'm not saying that's unique to this, but there's going to be a couple overseas guys. That's the way that Tommy Lloyd likes doing things. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with it. Tommy Lloyd has he certainly has earned the benefit of the doubt right here. Now, let's see. Rich Carrillo. Mike Luke, write it down, my man. Even if Tabella stays, U of A will finish 4th in the conference. No grit, no onions, weak roster. Let me ask you this, Rich. Does Ryan Nembhard change your opinion at all right there? Let me ask you that right there. But that's kind of where it is. The pack, I think, next year is actually going to be really, really good. So we're going to continue to talk about that. Onions are nasty anyways, Rich. That's very funny. All right, now let's talk a little bit of Arizona football here. Now, Arizona football is I'm excited. Spring game is here. It's going to be here Saturday. Hope to see everybody out there because, again, there's a lot to look forward to here. There's a lot about this team that you watch and you're kind of like, all right, that looks a little bit different. That looks a little bit different. But first, Tap and Bottle. The Tap and Bottle watch parties. Now, again, as you know, Scott and Rebecca are good friends of ours. They are doing it locally right here. Support them local, downtown or at the Northwest location. Would love to see you. I'm there all the time, bothering people and whatnot. Would love to see you there. Check it out. Tap and Bottle. And one other thing, Illegal Pete's. You might be like our pal Jacob Franklin, and you know what? You're a little bit younger than Mike Luke. And you might say, you know what? I can hang out with the cool kids. Illegal Pete's is there for you. You can go down to University or Tempe. Or you could say, you know what? I want to go there with some friends. Illegal Pete's has it there. Now, you might say if you're in Tempe, if you're in enemy territory, you can join the PHNX Sun Devils crew at Illegal Pete's in Tempe on Saturday, April 15th at 10 a.m. for the pregame ahead of Arizona State's spring game. Join the crew as they'll do a live show, plus enjoy $3 margaritas. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. All right, Arizona football. Here's where we're at. I believe this team is a bowl team. And again, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty right here, but there's a couple things that we got to talk about first. The reason I believe this is a bowl team is I believe this is going to be one of the top 3 or 4 offenses in the entire country, in the conference. I believe that it'll be a top 20 unit in the country. And the reason why is because they're absolutely loaded at the skill spots. Jacob Franklin, if you could put up that skill position spot right there for Arizona football, that would be much appreciated. So we already know what Jaden Delora can do. I think he takes a little bit of a next step. But then you got Tanner McLaughlin, you got Jacob Cowing, you got T-Mac. Those are 3 guys right there that have all conference potential to them. Then after that, you've also got a Kean Burnett at tight end, who I think is going to be I think he's going to be an NFL player. I think he's going to make that next level move this year. I'm looking for big things out of Kean Burnett. Then you got other receivers as well who are just waiting to make their mark. You got a Kevin Green, you got a Malachi Riley. So those skill guys are set. Then at the running back spot, you got a 3-headed trio that's going to be very, very good. But on the offensive line, that's where I think it's fascinating because you don't have a lot of depth, but you've got some guys that are different than U of A's used to have. And I tweeted this out yesterday. Big Jonah Sabanea. Enjoy Big Jonah while he is here. Enjoy Big Jonah while he's here, because he's a first-round pick. He's what first-round picks are supposed to look like, and he would start anywhere in the country. Arizona got I don't want to say lucky, but COVID helped, Hawaii helped with getting Jonah Sabanea right there. So you got Jonah Sabanea, you got Josh Baker, you got Wendell Moe. That is a pretty good interior right there. Now, again, Jonah Sabanea could end up playing at the right tackle position. If he's that good, you're going to get Jordan Morgan back. I expect Jordan Morgan to be good as well. As a matter of fact, I think Jordan Morgan is going to – I think he's going to be ready to rock and roll game one. So I believe the offense overall – and yes, while there are some question marks, the offense to me is going to be fantastic. Again, I'm looking for a top 20 unit. So what does that mean for the defense? All right, here's what it means for the defense. I just need the defense to be the 8th in the conference. I don't need it any better. I don't need it any worse. I just need it to be 8th. If the defense can be 8th, then I think Arizona is going to be in a good spot. I love getting Dwayne Aquina back, because, again, I think he's going to bring a much-needed set of eyeballs, a little bit of maturity, not saying that, there's immature factors there, but to this defensive backfield. And I think he's going to be able to help out in a great way throughout the defense. I like the linebacking core. I think that's significantly improved. The defensive line is certainly a question mark. There's no doubt about it. You got some bodies, but I'm also not sure who's going to be able to be that guy who's going to be that. So we'll find that one out. But overall, that's all I need from the defense, is if you can get them to be eighth best or eighth best in the conference, that's what you need. And like Rich Carrillo said, the defense will be okay with Aquina. Bam, you nailed it. I agree. I think you just need to be able to get him in here and to be able to make that just continue to keep him on the field. I know that there's some different stuff going on with the way that practices are scheduled for assistants, essentially. So again, but I would love to see that. Now, one other thing, though, here, the 4 peaks. Now, you might say, Mike, 4 peaks. Those are as my voice cracked right there. Now, 4 peaks. The best place to enjoy the NFL draft on April 27th is at 4 Peaks 8th Street Pub. Register for free in the link in our show notes to take advantage of beer specials. Must be 21 years or up, and enjoy responsibly. Again, great deals, NFL draft deals, $3 Redbird Lager, $5 Redbird Lager, all the good trimmings right there. And again, check it out, though, right there, 4 Peaks. But again, I believe Arizona is going bowling. I believe that Ąžuolas Tubelis can make a real impact for himself by coming back to the U of A. And I believe that Colorado could be the team that starts a movement to the Big 12. We'll find out all of that, as always. But again, going to sign off here. Be back with you tomorrow. As always, appreciate all of you guys right here. We'll try to get Brad some new electricity. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.